Welcome to Advanblack's YouTube channel. I'm Steve, service tech for Advanblack, and today I'm going to show you how to install our new 24 and up lower fairings on a 23 and older bike. Now you may or may not have seen our new 24 lower fairings. This is what they look like here. This is on our 24 Road Glide. They're completely different than the 23 and older bikes. We've had a lot of questions coming in, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. Hey, will these fit my 23 and older bike? I like the looks of those better than the older style, but will they fit? And yes, they will. And today I'm going to show you how to get that done. But before we get into the install on our 22 Road Glide back here, I'm going to bring you over here and we're going to go over a few installation things that we need to talk about before you make your order. And these are things that you need to look at, like I said, before you make your order to make sure that they're going to fit your application. So let's go over here and give it a look. So first and foremost, on your 23 and older Road Glide models, if you have the fairing spoiler kit that attaches down here and it goes around your oil cooler, this has to be removed. Now this one of course went with this bike, so we had to remove this to get this installed. You can't run both, okay? For one, there's no room to run both. The second thing is your fairing support bracket right here. You can see a standard fairing support bracket right here, and it has no arms that come down off the bottom. This is just your standard fairing support bracket for the Road Glide. To run either the lower fairing spoiler or the lower fairings themselves, you have to have a fairing support bracket that looks like this. It has two pieces that come down with a hole right here. So you've got your basic mount like this, and it tees off down here with a hole at the bottom. And what that's going to do is support your fairing support bracket through this hole right here, or it's going to support the lower fairings through that same hole. So that's the second reason why you can't run both. So that's something that you need to think about before you make this order. Do you want the fairing spoiler or do you want the lower fairings? Two completely different things, and you can only run one. Now talking about your chopped engine guard that's on your bike. 17 and newer, I think they pretty much started coming standard with a chopped engine guard. If you have the full size engine guard, you will need to change that to the 24 and newer chopped engine guard. Now it does still fit on the 23 and older bikes, but it is completely different than the 23 and older chopped engine guard. So if you have a chopped engine guard that fits the 14 to 23, you will still have to change that to a 24 and newer chopped engine guard. It is not the same. We're not just trying to sell you something. The lower fairings will not fit on that engine guard. The next thing we need to look at is our floorboards. Now these are the Vengeance floorboards from Advanblack. And the way that these set on our floorboard brackets, they are setting too far forward on the engine guards. So you can see right here, it's really close to the engine guard. You need at least an inch and a half of clearance between the front of your floorboard and the engine guard once you get the new engine guard installed. The reason for that is the engine guard comes down and it tucks in over the top of this right here. And if you don't have the clearance right here, you're going to hit your floorboard. Now, if you have aftermarket floorboards that ride really close to the engine guard like that, you're going to have to change your floorboards. Now, if you have the Vengeance floorboards from Advanblack already on your bike, you're going to be in luck because we have made some offset brackets that are going to do this. We're going to put these on the bike today. What this is going to do is offset our board back just a little bit. You're still going to have plenty of clearance for your feet, but it's going to give us room right here for that lower fairing to fit. So on the street glides, it's very simple. If you have the 14 to 23 chopped engine guard or the full-size engine guard, you'll have to go to the 24 and newer chopped engine guard. We sell those on Advanblack, and you'll have to get a support bracket that comes off the top down here. It looks different than this one here, but it has these holes here to support the top of the lower fairing. Once again, if you have the Road Glide, fairing spoiler or lower fairings, you cannot run both. Same as the street glide, if you have the 14 to 23 chopped engine guard, you will need to replace it with the 24 and newer chopped engine guard. And you'll have to replace your fairing support bracket with the support bracket that has the pieces that come down here to support the top of the lower fairing. So very simple. And the next thing is to check your clearance on your floorboards. You have to have an inch to an inch and a half of room between the front of your floorboard and the back side of your engine guard to allow that lower fairing to tuck up over the top and put the P-clamp on, right? So very simple. Go out and check your bike before you make your order. Now, one other thing we need to mention as well on fitment is if you are running an ultra cool oil cooler like the one I have on this bike here, this setup will not work. What happens is you can end up getting it wrapped around your engine guard here, but you're going to be pushed out away from this hole right here. So to get that bolt in, you're going to have about a 1/2 inch gap where it needs to be pulled over and pulled into that bracket to make sure that you support that bracket. So once again, if you have an ultra cool like you see here, you cannot run these lower fairings. So with a few simple tools, we're going to get this stuff changed out today. So let's get to it. Now, to save a little bit of time in this particular video, if you need to change your fairing support bracket, we do have other videos on the Advanblack YouTube channel that show you how to change that. Particularly if you go to the lower fairing spoiler video, which I will link down in the description down below, because we had to change it out to add this. Now, once you get that installed, you're going to come down here to your engine guard and change that. Like I said before, this 24 and newer is completely different than the 23 and older. That is super easy to do as well. You've got 2 bolts right here that this sets on. It's going to lock on like this, and then you've got a bolt on each side right down here by your floorboard bracket, and that's all you need to do to change that engine guard. So if you go out, you look at your bike, you got 2 bolts here and 1 bolt on each side down here by your floorboard bracket. So now with that done, all we need to do is remove our floorboard, change out our offset brackets, and put the floorboard back on, and then we can mount our lower fairings. These are marked left front and left back. So left front of the board, left back of the board. Blue Loctite on all the bolts that we just took out. And yes, this is blue thread locker, even though it's in a red bottle. It is blue. Blue is medium strength. You don't need red. Red sets up like concrete. Blue will allow you to take it out later, but it's not going to allow vibrations to remove it, right? So what we're going to do is run these in, but we're not going to run them in all the way. Now, you want them a little bit loose, just like that. Now, with this offset, you're going to get 2 new longer screws. If you look at the end of this, one side is like the shape of a nut, the other side is just a hole. So when you run that through, the nut's going to go into that recess, and that bracket's actually going to hold the nut for you, right? So let's get this back over to the bike and get this reinstalled. Now you can see with this offset, we got plenty of room for our lower fairings now, and we're still under our shifter, so we're in good shape. Now the hardware that you're going to need to install the lower fairings are going to be 4 black bolts like this with 4 washers. It's going to be for this plate. You've got your bolt and washer that goes in through the side in that top bracket, and it's going to go through that rubber grommet. Then you're going to have our P-clamp, another black bolt washer, and a nylon nut. So let's get over here and get those installed. So we're going to take our lower fairing out of our protective bag. Now when you go to set this in, it's very easy to set this on this bar like that and have this down here hitting the engine guard. You need to be above the engine guard. Slide that into place like that. So as long as you don't have this ultra cool in place, you can go ahead and proceed with this install. It's very easy to do. It's going to install just like our 24 and up now that you have the proper engine guard and support bracket on your bike. Rubber grommet like this is just going to be popped into this hole. It's just going to give you a buffer between the metal and the ABS, the painted part. You've got your lower fairing. You're going to make sure to slide this over the top of the engine guard. Don't install this with it down here like this. Has to go up, over, underneath your board there, and then on. These brackets that come with it are marked left and right. You're going to take your left side bracket with the U-shaped pieces going down. You're going to slide that on, and then you're going to get your black screws with your black washers. You're going to go ahead and get those hands started. But once again, just like anything else, we're going to leave everything loose until we get everything installed. Gonna get one more. Now once you have all 4 of those loosely started, you're going to go to the inside in here, and you're going to run this bolt and this washer through that rubber grommet into the side of the lower fairing. If you look, there will be 2 holes in there. One is going to have a brass grommet inside of it, and the other one's just going to be a hole. That hole is for speaker wires if you want to run our 6.5 or our 8-inch speaker pods, right? So go from the inside. It's easier to get on the other side of the bike and run the bolt in with an extension. and get that loosely put in as well. From there, you're going to take our P-clamp and you're going to put it around the engine guard. You're going to slide this on just like this with the P part going down. You're going to slide this right in between these two grooves right here where the hole is. You'll see the two grooves marked in the lower fairing. Slide that in like that. You're going to take your last bolt and nut. You're going to run that through the top side here into the P-clamp. Squeeze it together and get the nut installed on it. Now, like I said, with the Ultra Cool on this bike, I cannot proceed with this install because the Ultra Cool is pushing out on the lower fairing. So this is about as far as I can get on this install, but it is very simple. And if you have any other questions on this part of the install, refer to our new lower fairing install that, like I said, I will put a link in the description down below, or it'll be popping up here in the top in the left-hand corner. You can click that and go over and finish watching the install. Like I said, if you don't have the Ultra Cool, these go on smoothly. I can show you the other side of the bike where we already have that installed. So you can see over here on this side of the bike, we do have everything installed. The P-clamp right here, we've got the bolt on the inside torqued down. We've got our 4 bolts right here holding the clamp onto the engine guard, right? So this is what it's going to look like on the bike once you get it installed. So like I said, once again, if you don't have that Ultra Cool, it's going to look just like this on the other side of the bike. So that's going to be our 24 and newer lower fairings on a non-CVO 23 and older bike. Now that CVO only applies to the 23 because that was the year that they made the change. So that we don't get this confused, in the middle of 23's 23.5 is the CVO. It's going to have the new engine guard on it that you're going to have to require to have this on there. If you have a 23 and older standard, you will have to change that engine guard, right? So if you have a 23 and newer CVO, you will already have this engine guard on there. But you'll also already have the fairing skirt like we talked about earlier on the Road Glide, so you will have to remove that if you want to do this. So make sure to check out your bike, check out the website, use the drop down menus to select the correct bracket for your bike, and then also make sure to check out your floorboards. So if you have the elongated or extra long floorboards that run up into the engine guard, this will not work. If you have the Vengeance floorboards like this, you can get those offset brackets like I showed you a while ago to make this work. So there's a few things that you have to do or check out before you order to make sure that these are going to fit on your bike. I hope this video helps you and answers a lot of the questions that I've already been getting on this install. If you want to get your hands on a set of these, like I said, I'll put a link down in the description down below. It'll take you straight over to the website where you can purchase them, or you can get them through an authorized Advanblack dealer. I'm going to get out of here, get myself back to work. I hope to see you in the next video, but until then, as always, be safe and keep your knees in a breeze.